is a lonely place. You have to embrace the loneliness of being on the right path.
I remember saying to myself, saying out loud with my friends, saying, I want what I want. You know?
The need to do everything is actually rooted in pride. Holy Spirit revealed that to me.
I think I said no. I was surprised. I was like, what? They're not saying no to people from Lagos, you know?
Position yourself as someone working with God to work this marriage. The same way I enabled you, I can enable anybody. You're not doing anything special. Having a close walk with God, an understanding of how God speaks to you, an understanding of how God works with you before you get married. As we have talked about it, like I said earlier, it's a covenant, not a contract.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that gives you an exit. The only thing that gives you an exit in a covenant situation is death. When one person dies, then you're free to move on. You understand? But until then, it's something that two of you are in, and there's nothing that gets you out. God has not given us some. I mean, there's some outlets. For example, Jesus said, if in the case of adultery you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, it's still a covenant. You understand? Even though that's a way of escape, the Bible did say that God doesn't like divorce.
Yeah.
So he's not. Divorce is not the answer to every challenge that a couple have.
Yeah.
You understand? So, but the commitment to the covenant helps people stay on course, even in their moments of weakness, in their moments of anger, in their moments of disappointment. Because these are all things that happen in marriage. Your husband does things, you think, how could you? The wife does something, you say, no. You know. But because of your commitment to the covenant, you keep coming. And this covenant is a covenant of love. And if there's love, there's forgiveness, because the Bible talks about the fact that there's no record of wrong in love.
Yeah.
So it's a covenant of love. It's a covenant of blood. It's a covenant that even the blood of Jesus stands for. You understand? So there is no reason for it to fail if you will walk all the tenets of the covenant. And the primary tenet of the covenant is love. So if you will work it according to the tenets of love, what love says, Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, love doesn't puff up, it's not puffed up, it doesn't boast, it doesn't,
never fail,
and it doesn't keep record of wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so when you keep thinking about it along those lines and you work it along those lines, you will have a good marriage. You will have challenging times, but you will come through because you are both committed to the covenant.
Yeah.
But where there is a problem is where maybe one party is committed to the covenant, or the both of them don't even understand that they're in a covenant. So as you're coming into marriage, your perception is, if it works, fine. If it doesn't work,
that's even a wrong.
Because you start there, definitely you will not make it to the end.
Yeah.
You will not make it to the end. So you have to tell yourself, understand what it is. Understand why you're getting into it. It's not about you. You are the recipient of God's blessing in being married, but it's not all about you. There's when the Bible talks about God saying multiply, fill the earth, it is through marriage He planned it. Do you understand? It's through people coming together. So he's as concerned about this thing you're getting into as you are, even more so, because He's the one looking at the world and wanting that multiplication to take place.
And multiplication of the God kind of seed.
Yes, the God kind of spirits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in having children, you're not just having children. You're not having children. You think you're having children for yourself. Trust me, I'm a mother of 4 young adults now. Yes, I'm almost there. You know, in fact, I'm there. Yes, and you know, and children walk away. Think about it. Didn't we walk away from our parents?
Yeah, we did.
So you're having, if you want to get married because you want to have children, what do you think children are? Children are a responsibility, and they're not a responsibility for you to create them and bring them up for yourself. They're a responsibility for you to raise and let go into the world to become a better version of yourself, a better version of your godly self. So when you think about it and you think, I just want to have children, what are you having children for? When you have the children and they leave home, then what happens?
What happens?
So right now I'm an emptiness. I still and my whole husband. You know what I mean? And so if you're not working it out, and that's how come you have a lot of grandmothers who sometimes leave home. They leave their husbands at home and they go, you know, globetrotting.
Yeah.
One child is doing omogo, another child is just in school, another child, you know, they're not home.
Yeah.
Why? Because the marriage, there's no friendship. You know, I can't imagine myself leaving the house and leaving my husband alone for 2 months, 3 months. Do you understand? The thought of it is not that I cannot do it. I can do it, but it is something I have to think through. Because he and I have never been apart that long. So we have to plan it. We have to think about it. There was a time my husband was away for a year. He came home every quarter because he was at work, and I had to stay where we were with the kids, and so before we came back to join him. But it's something we had to talk about, plan it. In fact, because he didn't want to stay alone, he had to stay with a family friend. He stayed in the house until we came home. He moved into the house that we moved into about a week before we came back, before we all now came back. Because how would you leave a man to be by himself and just not care? No. So and that's because of the life we've lived.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, what am I saying? I'm saying that there must be a commitment to that covenant. There must be an understanding from both parties that this thing we're into is not about both of us.
Yeah.
There's somebody higher than us who's superintending it.
Yeah.
For whose glory we have come together.
Yeah.
And so you must be conscious of it. You must be conscious of it. And if you are conscious of it, you will mind yourself. All that whole, me, myself, it will die gradually as you get into it, it will die. I mean, let me just tell you a very small, simple story. When we got married initially, my husband, this little Costa pack of biscuits,
Yeah.
my husband would buy a pack. And he would buy 2 packs. And I assume one pack is for me, one pack is for you. Remember that this biscuit doesn't cost anything, right? And then he would say, no, let's not eat it like that. We'll open one first. He will take, I will take, he will take, I will take. The one of will now open the next one, he will take. I could not understand it. How? And if you don't eat it like that, he actually gets upset. And I'm like, what is this? I was one that said, I do a lot on the phone, I have to eat from the same place. I said, no, Mr. Kalu, I'm not doing that one. Sorry, I'm not doing that one. But till tomorrow, my husband would rather that we ate, you're eating but you take and they take. And I'm like, no, see, let's do it like this. And that's him for you. You know what I mean? And I want to tell you how many times that biscuit thing caused a problem for us in our early marriage. I had to come to tell that, okay, if it's biscuits, you can open it. No, he wants it as you're eating. You open 2, you open 1, then you finish, then you open the second one, we'll finish. That's him. And so that is how much he felt it should be to get that thing. Sometimes sometimes he has now like almost like choking. I said, no, we can't do it like this. We can't. Sorry, let's just we can't do it like this. We can't. And we had to agree on a way forward. Does he still make those demands of me sometimes? Yes, he does. I'm the one who now has that struggle with. Okay, it's not a big deal. It's part of the blessing. You know what I mean? And then I have to adjust myself to align myself with that expectation. And so it's important for us to understand that it's not about us. There's a covenant you are into, and that covenant matters to God. And if you will just see it that way, your attitude to the whole arrangement will be different. And that's where I see people not getting it right. So somebody needs to teach it. Somebody needs to talk about it. Somebody needs to keep, asking couples, do you understand what you're getting into? Are you sure you understand? And keep talking to them through it and being with them even while they're in the journey of marriage. Somebody should be with them to help them as they walk along. Otherwise, those times when yourself starts to manifest itself, you will not even recognize it. But when somebody is there, watching from the sidelines, it's not your mother, it's not your father, it's not your parents, it's not your family members, it's some sort of accountability partners or mentors, so you're not alone, you're not doing that journey alone. It helps. However, if you understand it, you won't need so much intervention from them, and you will be able to make wise decisions as you go along, understanding that your spouses are not perfect. Nobody is perfect. So the times you have problems when the other person is not acting his best self or her best self, and at such times you will have the grace and the wisdom to manage through that season, because it's more than just that you like each other. Liking each other is good. It's better when you like each other, but it's not just about liking each other. That is what, and it is when you have that understanding, when he's not acting like you want him to act, or she's not acting like you want him to act, you can adjust yourself and wait for the season to turn around, and it always does. It always does.
Absolutely. So you've summarized marriage nicely. It's a covenant of 2 committed people who understand that God is the first, is the author. And then when it comes to children, your children are not for you.
They're not for you.
They're not for you.
I mean, the reason you know they're not for you is because they walk away. You're not the one calling. I said yesterday, I tried to talk to my son. I used my husband's phone. He said, I can't talk right now. I said, it's me, mommy. He didn't answer me. And that's typical. That's typical. I can't even get offended because I I cannot ask him to come and stay with me because he does
Yeah.
that. He has a destiny to fulfill.
He has his own
So I
destiny.
must release him. I must release the kids and let them go. It's not about me at all.
Absolutely.
Even in raising them, you know, all this problem with people who want doctors as sons and lawyers and accountants. It's all about wanting to manifest yourself in your children. You and your children have nothing to do with you. You have to understand that from the onset. From the very onset, that your children are not about you at all. You're just raising people for God. And so understand what God says about them and then align them with that purpose. And you will find that your children will excel effortlessly, you know, and it makes life a lot easier. So when you understand that understanding is about two of you, but it's also about God, life becomes easier. And you're not stressed out in marriage. You relax because it's not about you. It's not.
Wow, this is such a I'm sure this will be a revelation for some people. I hope that it brings freedom. And at the moment, I'm just thinking of people who didn't understand that marriage is a covenant before going into it, or didn't even understand that they had to be prepared before going into it, and also they just found themselves married to somebody who is inconsiderate, somebody who doesn't help out at home, somebody who isn't helping them fulfill their destiny, somebody who has made them feel or look worse than they did when they were single. What can we say to such situation? How can we encourage them? Is there restoration? Is there hope for restoration?
That's the thing that I wish I could always just counsel people before they get married, so that if they understand that this is not working, they can quickly, you know, shut down whatever it is they have and try somewhere else. But once you have gotten married, there's always that chance of restoration. There is always that chance. However, it takes two to restore. It takes two to restore. And so if both parties come to a place where they tell them, and you see, if you go through the premarital preparation for it, you will get to the place where it has become really bad before you understand that we need to do something.
Right.
Yeah. But when you don't, you find out that people just think, you know, and a lot of the time, especially in an African setting, people are told, hey, wait, it's just two of you. Keep it to yourself. You two of you solve your problems yourself, and then you are there. There's a sense of shame that people feel when they're not working their marriages right. They don't like raising it.
Yeah.
Except they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
So they bear it. They keep trying to sort it out. They use improper and inappropriate methods to try to sort it out, and the matter keeps getting worse. Then it gets to a point where, by the time people hear about it, it's a
totally
yeah. So restoration is possible, but two people have to be committed to it. And I find a lot of times when things have gone wrong and you say, let's go to the restoration table, one party is not willing to. So it's only, and when you have only one party, you can't restore something when So the first thing is, if you're having a bad time in marriage, is your spouse willing to sort things out with you? If he is or she is, you don't have a problem, because both of you are committed to this thing we're talking about. And then you can seek help. The times when we say, hey, try to solve it yourself, the only thing is, don't go to your mother.
Go to a neutral.
Yes, don't go to your parents. Don't go to your siblings. Don't go to your besties and
your spiritual.
Yes, go. And if possible, don't even stay in church, in local church, because you might feel a sense of, you might not feel safe. Terribly. Unless you feel protected and safe, then fine. But take it to a place where somebody can sit you guys on a table and get you guys to that tough conversation that you guys are not able to have by yourselves. And once that happens, it becomes easier to restore and to get back on track to, you know, for restoration and things to change. But like I said, it has to be two of you. Now, when there's just one party who is struggling, it's two things. Marriage is a beautiful thing, but marriage is not God. It's not Jesus. Do you understand? So you mustn't be afraid to face the consequences, whatever comes. And so there are two things. There was a question I was asked many years ago, and I couldn't answer it. They said, hey, what if there is the man is not faithful? There's infidelity in the picture. I answered the question, but I knew as I was answering that I didn't answer it right. So of course I got this backlash from the crowd, and I just thought, Lord, I didn't answer that question right. I didn't know what to say. So I asked the Lord, what do I do? What does a woman do or a man do when he finds out that his spouse is not faithful? How do you fix that? He said it happened. Two things happen. It's either that you confront the issue and your spouse who is unfaithful says, honey, I'm sorry. I'm willing to make amends. If you have that, you're blessed. You go back together to the drawing board and start fixing whatever. Forgiveness, love, restoration, and everything continues. But when you have a spouse that is not willing to come to the table and is not sorry about what he or she is doing, how do you handle it as a spouse? And he said to me, it's two things. You can make up your mind that because the Bible says in the case of adultery, I don't want to do this anymore. You'll be within your rights. You walk away and you clean it all up and you walk away. However, there's another option where you remember what I said about the fact that there's somebody holding the two of you together. You go to that one and say, Lord, I'm here. It's not even a function of whether he brought you or not. You are not in marriage. And Lord, I want this thing to work. And you hold his hand and he takes you on a journey to restoration. Two things can happen. That eventually there'll be a lot of praying, a lot of the word, a lot of you and the Spirit of God engaging. It will build intimacy between you and God. It will build you up. Because the disappointment, the pain, and all those things have to be addressed. And in engaging with God, those things will be addressed. And so you get to the point where one of two things happen. It either fixes or it doesn't. If it doesn't, because from the beginning, God already knows whether this your spouse is going to be okay or not. But he's concerned about you because he knows the erring spouse and he knows the spouse that is being hurt. He's concerned about the spouse that is being hurt. And so he will engage with you. You go on that journey, however long it takes. And usually it's not that long if you will just be patient. That's especially for the women. I must say, this is not the time for you to be talking too much. This is not the time for you to be running around at parties. This is not the time for you to be complaining. This is the time for you to, enter into a cocoon with the Spirit of God and allow him to take you on that journey. At that time, in fact, chances are that your spouse is going to get worse than he ever was. What you do is because you are in God and you are walking it with God, you just hold him tight and go through that journey. It's one of two things. The spouse will either walk away or he'll come back. It's one of the two. But if he walks away, it will not kill you. Do you know why? Because you have been on that journey with God and he has strengthened you
And enlarge your capacity.
built you up.
Yeah.
You are no longer that emotional wreck.
Yeah.
You understand? You're no longer that woman who is my husband. No, because your strength is not in your husband or your spouse.
No.
Your strength is in God. And you have totally gotten to that place where you know and understand that your help is in God.
Yeah.
You understand? When you get there, if he walks away,
You'll be alright.
you'll be fine. You
will find purpose in that
you will find purpose in that place. You will find things that nuggets. You will find treasure in that journey. And so if he's walking away or she's walking away, trust me, you'll be stronger in the whole thing. You're not the victim anymore. However, it could also be the other way around where there's total restoration. And what you will have when he comes back will be far better than what, And as I began to tell people this thing in counseling, I'm a pastor. I'm a pastor counselor. So I cannot engage in counseling and not bring in the precepts of God, And I have found that it works. And then when you're going on this journey, God is not going to demand that we're begging him, we're begging her. No, that's not what he's going to ask you to do. He's just going to ask you, focus on me, be looking at me. I am the author and the finisher of your faith. Focus on me. If the spouse is coming back, he or she's coming back, she's going to come back humbled, totally understanding that I have messed up, and that from here my life is about restoring, making you understand that I'm sorry, and he will make the effort to make that thing work. We will now enter into a heavenly. I remember one lady said to me, now I'm in heaven, Pastor Chinwe. I could not believe it, because if you hear what that story was, you would never. If it was me in my natural sense, I would have just told her, you know what, go and get pack your things and you don't need this. You know what I mean? But I just kept encouraging each other. She said, Pastor Chinwe, I'm now in heaven. She never even believed that her marriage could be like that. He came back totally changed. I've seen 2 marriages like that he worked for. And it works. In fact, 3. Where the man just understands, I have to treat this woman right. You understand? And even though you're working things, he's treating her right, and his dynamics have totally changed. Even some women get to understand, okay, even because in a marriage situation, your husband or spouse can do something to you, and in response, you do the wrong thing. So you also now begin to adjust your responses. And so somebody said, I now know that I have to be polite and whatever if I want to, and she adjusts herself. Absolutely. And so we are all better for it. So it is one of 2 things. But you must not be afraid of the ultimate outcome.
Don't make marriage a god.
Yes! Don't! Because it is not God.
It's not God.
It's not God. And when you take that attitude, trust me, God is proud of you. He's proud of you. And if for any reason you have to, a relationship has to end, He will more than make it up to you.
Yeah.
He will. Am I promising another spouse? No, because I am. But I'm saying that the life you live, the life you come into, will be a life that is worth your while, and the Lord will vindicate you completely and totally. That's who He is. He's a faithful Father, and He's committed to you when you're committed to Him. So it's tough. It's not an easy place to come through, but it is a place that guarantees restoration, either of yourself with God or the couple. They come together and they now begin to work that thing the way God intended in the first place. So I've had boldness to now talk about it even more because I've gotten results with it.